Hello, inner shifters, how you doing? Your host, Sophia here. This, my friend, is where wellness stops being a competition and starts becoming a conversation. Where the goal is no longer about who's got the cleanest habits, the leanest routine, or the most impressive results, but instead, it's about connection, compassion, real, messy, beautiful support. Let's talk about Clara. You'll remember her from our earlier chats. She's the kind of person who dives headfirst when something inspires her. So when she got serious about her health, she joined a wellness-focused group chat online. The idea was great: daily check-ins, progress photos, recipe swaps. But almost immediately she felt off. Every post seemed curated to perfection, abs glistening, meals flawlessly plated, routines hyper-disciplined. And when she shared something real, like struggling with motivation or feeling bloated after a hard week, the silence was deafening. No replies, no support. Just glossy updates from others who looked like they had it all figured out. She didn't quit the group right away. But she withdrew, stopped posting, felt shame. And most painfully, she felt alone in a space that was supposed to help her feel connected. That's what happens when we build communities around perfection instead of shared values. The very thing meant to uplift becomes a mirror reflecting inadequacy. So Clara did something brave. She started her own small group with just a few friends who, like her, were navigating the ups and downs of health with open hearts. And the very first message in that group said, "This is a space where we value honesty over aesthetics, compassion over comparison, and progress over perfection." That became their North Star. Let me tell you, it wasn't a space filled with flawless meal plans and workout selfies. It was filled with messages like, "I cried during yoga today, but I still showed up." Or, "I didn't have energy to move today, so I danced with my dog for 5 minutes. And it was magic. People felt safe to share victories and setbacks alike. They celebrated showing up, not just crushing goals. They lifted each other not by having all the answers, but by saying, "Me too." And Mateo, who had always hesitated to join health spaces because he felt like the slowest one in the room, finally found something that clicked. He told Clara one day, "This is the first time I don't feel behind. I feel included." That line stuck with her. Because that's the thing, supportive communities don't rank you, they recognize you. Now, shared values don't mean everyone has to approach wellness the same way. You can have runners, dancers, strength trainers, mindful eaters, intuitive movers all in one space. What matters is the foundation. A shared respect for the process. A belief that all bodies are worthy. A commitment to showing up with kindness instead of judgment. And that kindness, it creates an atmosphere where people want to keep going. Not because they're afraid to fail, but because they know failing isn't punished. It's supported, encouraged, normalized. One of Clara's friends, Anna, went through a stretch of binge eating after a tough breakup. She messaged the group in tears, saying, "I feel like I'm ruining everything I worked for." The group's response, gentle messages like, "Your worth isn't measured by your meals, and this is part of the healing, not the end of it." Ayana told Clara later that it was the first time she didn't spiral into shame. "They reminded me that I'm still lovable," she said. That's the power of shared values. They extend grace instead of guilt. Even small things can reinforce those values. The language we use matters. Instead of saying, "I was bad today," say, "I had a challenging moment." Instead of "I have to make up for it," say, "I'm learning what I need." Words shape culture, and culture shapes community. And if you're building your own health space online, in person, wherever, consider starting not with rules, but with reflections. Ask, what do we stand for, not in terms of metrics, but meaning? Do we prioritize mental health as much as physical health? Do we allow space for silence and support? Do we celebrate tiny wins? Do we reject diet culture and honor body autonomy? These aren't just ideas, they become the oxygen of the group. When Clara's wellness circle grew, they kept returning to their original values. Even when new people joined, even when conversations shifted, they never chased perfection. They chased presence, they never said, "You should do this." They said, "Tell us what's working for you and what is." That openness made the space feel alive, inclusive, real. Mateo started leading a small wellness journaling workshop based on this model. Not to teach people how to journal, but to guide them into expressing without fear. The opening line he always used was, "This is not a space to be right, it's a space to be real." And it worked. People shared freely, vulnerably, sometimes messily, but always with courage. And you know what else happens when you build a health community around values instead of perfection? People stay longer. They return, they grow. Because they're not chasing a finish line, they're growing roots. If you've ever felt left out in a wellness space, it's not because you weren't good enough. It's because the space wasn't built for truth. You deserve a space where you're not just allowed to be human, you're celebrated for it. So here's what I see for you, friend. If you ever build or join a health circle, make shared values the heartbeat. Make kindness the language. Make progress the celebration. Make every person feel like they matter, not for what they do, but for who they are. If there's a heartbeat in every meaningful health community, this is it. The space itself, the atmosphere. The way people feel when they enter. If a person walks into a room or a group chat or a studio or a backyard meetup and feels safe to be real, safe to not know everything, safe to share, then that community has already won. We spend so much of our lives trying to hold it together, whether it's in front of coworkers, family, even in our own mirror. But when it comes to health, real messy, everyday health, the truth is it's never perfect. Some days are powerful, other days are hard. And if there's no space to say both aloud, what kind of wellness are we really building? Clara had this moment once in a community fitness class. It was one of those inclusive spaces, no mirrors, lots of laughter, people of all ages and sizes. The instructor, a woman named Joy Fitting, Wright, had a tradition before each class. She'd ask how people were feeling. Not physically, emotionally. She'd say, "Tell me your truth in one word." Some said tired. Others said hopeful. One person said numb. And Joy would simply nod and thank each person. No pressure to explain, just recognition. Clara was used to the grind culture of fitness, so this shook her. She said it felt like exhaling in a room that had previously only allowed inhale. During the workout, she felt freer. Less like she was performing, more like she was experiencing. And when she didn't finish every rep, no one batted an eye. That's when it clicked for her. Encouragement isn't just applause at the finish line. It's being told, "You're welcome here no matter your pace." Vulnerability doesn't mean oversharing or spilling your life story. It just means honesty. Saying, "I'm struggling to stay motivated," or "I don't understand this yet," or "I'm trying, but it's hard." And the moment someone answers with "same here," connection is born. And through that connection, health becomes sustainable. Because suddenly you're not walking alone. Mateo had a beautiful experience with this when he started a group for people navigating body image healing. It wasn't formal, just 5 friends texting weekly. They'd check in not with weight updates or gym logs, but with emotions. Someone would say, "I wore shorts today after years of hiding my legs." Another would say, "I ate dessert without spiraling." And instead of judgment, they were met with cheers, heart emojis, and gentle affirmations like, "You're rewriting a whole narrative, and that's brave." Mateo said it changed him. "I stopped chasing validation and started valuing truth." And here's what I know to be true. The most powerful communities don't build around perfection, they build around permission. A permission to try, permission to stumble, permission to be complex. And the space itself, whether digital or physical, becomes like a hug for the soul. You can spot a vulnerable space by the way people listen. There's less advice giving, more question asking. Instead of "here, what you should do," people say "how can we support you?" Instead of assumptions, there's curiosity. That culture makes all the difference. It turns wellness into witnessing. Even small rituals help build that safety. Clara started doing rose and thorn check-ins in her community, one highlight of the week, one challenge. So that way, people didn't feel they had to present only the good or only the bad. They could show up whole, and showing up whole, that's healing. Mateo added reflection questions to his forum once a month. Stuff like, "what does wellness mean for you this season?" and "how does rest show up in your life right now?" People responded with poetry, voice notes, doodles. The community came alive not as a place to be fixed, but as a place to be felt. What happens inside these spaces is hard to quantify, but you can feel it. Motivation grows not because you're being pushed, but because you're being held. Encouragement flows not just as cheerleading, but as a quiet presence. Vulnerability isn't weaponized, it's honored. And that changes everything. Because when someone says, "I didn't work out this week and I feel guilty," and another replies, "You're still worthy," that's grace. And when someone says, "I'm proud I listened to my body and skipped the gym to rest," and others say, "That's strength," that's culture shift. This is how we build communities that last. That don't rely on hype or hustle, but on hearts. Spaces that see the whole person, mind, body, and soul, and meet each version with love. So if you're dreaming of creating a space like this, start with tone, with intention. Ask, "what do I want people to feel when they join?" Safe, brave, seen, then model that. Be the first to share gently. Applaud not just goals reached, but truths spoken. And if you're looking for a space like this, trust your gut. Look for the rooms where you breathe easier, where people listen without rushing to fix, where encouragement feels natural, not forced, where vulnerability is met not with silence, but with kindness. Because the strongest health communities aren't built in gyms or spreadsheets, they're built in moments of realness. In texts that say "thinking of you," in replies that say "you're not alone," in conversations that hold space without needing to tidy the edges. Lifting each other with celebrations, not comparisons, is the oxygen of a truly supportive health community. This is where connection gets strong, where confidence gets contagious, where everyone feels seen not for how they measure up, but for how they rise in their own way. And I'll be honest, this one hits deep because comparison is everywhere. It sneaks in through social media scrolls, gym locker rooms, meal prep pics, progress photos. We see someone running faster, lifting heavier, looking leaner, and suddenly our own journey feels smaller. Less worthy, less exciting. But here's the truth: you can't compare paths that were never meant to be the same. Clara had a moment like this early in her health journey. She was doing well, eating mindfully, moving consistently, finally feeling proud. Then she joined a fitness group online. At first, it was motivating. But then the weekly check-ins started to sting. People were posting dramatic transformations, intense training regimens, strict eating plans. Clara found herself zooming in on their photos, counting weeks, tracking inches until her own progress stopped feeling good. "I felt like I was losing," she told me, "even though I was actually winning on my terms." Oh, it broke my heart. Because Clara hadn't stopped progressing, she'd stopped celebrating. A comparison had stolen her joy, one scroll at a time. So we flipped the script. We created a tiny gratitude thread just for her. Every day, she'd post one thing she was proud of, small or big, physical or emotional. "I stretched this morning. I drank more water. I listened to my hunger cues." And I replied with praise, no metrics, just heart. Within a week, her energy shifted. "And it's wild," she said. "I started clapping for myself again." That's where healing begins. Celebration builds motivation, it builds momentum. It makes you want to keep going, not to beat anyone else, but because it feels good to honor your steps. And when a community joins in that celebration, that's rocket fuel. Mateo had a similar experience, but in reverse. He'd never considered himself athletic. His health journey was slow and steady. But one day, after a long walk that he finished without needing to stop, he posted in his wellness group, "Small win, I didn't get winded this time." He almost didn't hit send, worried it wasn't impressive enough. But the replies came in waves. "Oh, you did that, this is huge, Mateo." "Keep going, this is the kind of win that matters most." He told me later, "That post made me feel like an athlete for the first time." Not because he was faster than anyone, but because he was seen, celebrated, held up. That kind of encouragement rewires the brain. Instead of seeking validation through competition, you begin to root yourself in your own progress. You stop needing comparison to feel valuable. You start recognizing the worth in your own steps, and then you start seeing it in others, too. And here's what I love in truly supportive communities. People cheer for everything. Someone drinks a glass of water after forgetting for days, celebration. Someone speaks kindly to their reflection for once, celebration. Someone rests intentionally instead of powering through burnout, absolutely celebrated. Because health isn't just about the milestones, it's about the mindset. It's about the courage it takes to keep going, especially when no one's watching. Clara started a shine thread in her group, a place where anyone could drop a win, no matter how small. One woman posted, "I made a doctor's appointment I'd been putting off for months," and the group rallied. Hearts, confetti emojis, affirming replies. That appointment may not have burned calories or tracked macros, but it was part of her health. And they saw that's how you build trust. Even language matters here. In comparison-based spaces, you hear words like behind, catch up, better than. But in celebration-based communities, you hear you're showing up, we're proud of you, keep shining. That language changes people, makes them softer, braver, more likely to keep going. Mateo now leads small wellness meetups in his neighborhood, and before every session, he asks one question, "What are you proud of this week?" That simple prompt has sparked tears, laughter, breakthroughs. One guy said, "I slept through the night for the first time in ages." Another said, "I chose fruit instead of frustration." It's never about outdoing anyone. It's about honoring everyone. And if someone's having a hard week, that's okay too. The group doesn't shift into pressure. They shift into presence, we're here with you. You're not alone, it's okay to rest. That support lifts just as powerfully as a cheer, it says, "You're worth celebrating even now." A comparison shrinks us, celebration expands us. And when a health community chooses expansion, it becomes a space of growth. Not linear growth, not competitive growth, but deep, soulful, personalized growth. Clara said something recently that I wrote down. "Celebration made me fall in love with my health journey. Not because I was winning, but because I finally realized I was worthy." That's the shift. So if you're building or searching for a health community, look for the ones that clap for every step. That don't just show off victories, but invite vulnerability. That see every member as valuable not for their stats, but for their showing up. You don't need to be faster, fitter, thinner, stronger than anyone else. You just need a space where your light doesn't need to compete, it just needs to be honored. Making health inclusive and accessible is where community becomes more than just a group of people. It becomes a place where everyone belongs. Where wellness isn't something you earn by looking or living a certain way, but something you are invited into simply because you exist. And that, my friend, is the revolution. So if you're building a community, lead with openness. Not just to bodies, but to stories. Ask who isn't being heard here, ask whose needs aren't being met yet, and then make the changes. They don't need to be perfect. They need to be intentional. And if you're seeking community, don't settle for spaces that shrink you. Look for ones that honor you not just in strength, but in softness. Where your health isn't compared or graded, but witnessed and encouraged. I thank you so much for listening to this podcast. Remember to like, follow, subscribe, and do all those lovely things you wonderful people do. I'll see you next time.